Hi guys, James at RampantLionReviews again for you today with another beer review. For this one we are going to head down to Slovenia once again, and that of course means that we're going to take a look at yet another beer from the latest instalment of the Davor box. So a massive shout out and thank you once again to Davor Širitz, one of my long-term subscribers. It's thanks to him that you see these Slovenian beers reviewed for you here on the channel. He is officially my Slovenian beer mule. He's also sent me some really interesting Belgian stuff over the years as well. But he's a lovely guy, he's got a ridiculous knowledge about beer, huge fan of his Belgian beers as well actually, and as I always say to him, he needs to start his own channel. His cellar is absolutely ridiculous and I think that he needs to share that with the world. So guys, when you see Davor on the live streams with us, make sure you peer pressure him into starting his own channel, because it would be awesome to have a Slovenian beer tuber be able to join us on the things. And you will see Davor on some of my out and about videos again, hopefully next year. I do want to get down to Slovenia. I have been wanting to go there for a long time, and that should be quite interesting because I know we can sort out some really interesting meet the brewer segments and some other interesting out and about videos as well. So watch this space. Slovenia will, fingers crossed, be one of the next destinations for the out and about videos. I've wanted to go there for a very long time, and it will be cool to get Davor in on some of these tasting videos as well. So yeah, you can look forward to that. But for this review, we are going to have a look at another Slovenian brewery that I've never tried anything from before, and that was the focus that I asked Davor about for this box. I wanted to try new Slovenian breweries that I hadn't had anything from before, and this was one of the ones that he recommended. So for this review, we are going to go to Ljubljana, the capital city, right in the centre of the country, and we're going to have a look at my first beer from Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah. So this one is the IPA Smrekovimi, Vršički, if I've pronounced that right. Probably not, because Slovenian is a very difficult language, but basically if you translate that name into English, it is the IPA with spruce tips. It comes in at 5.6% ABV, and you know, if Davor's chosen this one, I'm pretty sure this will be quite an interesting and quite a nice beer. So yeah, definitely cool to have another new Ljubljana based brewery on the channel here. A few videos back you would have seen me review my first beer from Pivovarna Omnivar, which I was quite impressed with. That was a really quirky beer actually, and of course there is Tectonic in Ljubljana as well. There's a lot of different craft breweries in Slovenia these days. I'm not sure of the exact number, but it does seem to be ever expanding. So definitely nice to introduce these guys to you here on the channel for the first time, and I hope that you guys enjoy my take on this beer as well. It's always cool to support the Slovenian craft beer scene actually, and the people watching from down there seem to really enjoy these videos. So yeah, let's see how we get on with this one then. Thank you again to Davor for making this review possible. So as always with my reviews, I'll tell you a little bit about the brewery before we taste the beer. If you want to get straight to the tasting, just fast forward. All the usual links are in the video description below. That's the brewery website, the link to my other reviews that hopefully I can do in the future from Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah. Very first time I'm trying one of their beers, as I mentioned. There's all the usual social media down there. If you want to see more reviews, do please consider subscribing to the channel. The whole channel of course has a geography based tagging system, so you can go into the home page and search for beer based on country, city, state, county, province, prefecture, whatever it is you're interested in. Do check out the playlists of beers from different countries. There is one there for all the Slovenian beers that I've reviewed for you. That's being added to very regularly at the moment because we have just had one of the Davor boxes, but you will see that added to regularly over the next little while. And as always, please do get in touch and let me know some of the other beers and breweries that you guys would like to see me review. It's always great to hear from you guys that are watching the videos, and the support that you show the channel is hugely appreciated. So anyway, to tell you a little bit about Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah then, on to my brewery notes. So Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah were officially founded back in 2016, and as I've mentioned to you already, they are based in Ljubljana, the Slovenian capital, right in the centre of the country. But the story of this brewery, however, goes back to the previous year when Miha Schnudel and Igor Lazar met Dom Srebot, who was homebrewing on a 100-litre brew kit. But Miha and Igor were extremely impressed with the quality of Dom's beers, so much so that they decided they wanted to start a project with him to create a commercial brewery. So the first beers were apparently brewed in April of 2016 in Vizir, down in Montenegro, but the brewery was very quickly moved to the how do you pronounce this? The Črnice district in Ljubljana. I hope I've got that right, probably not. But this is where they have their current brewery, and it's equipped with a 2,000 litre brew kit, which gives them an annual capacity of around 2,000 hectolitres, or 200,000 litres. But over the last few years, they've gathered a number of awards and garnered a number of awards and a number of decorations for the quality of their beers. And as of October 2020, when I'm filming this review for you, these guys have produced 35 different kinds of beer, and there's some really interesting ones in there as well. But this is the one that Davor was very, very keen for me to have a look at. And as I say, basically I tell Davor, just pick me some stuff that you think's interesting, and it's in Davor that we trust when it comes to the Slovenian beers. So yeah, that's all I can really tell you about Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah for the moment. And they do seem to have some interesting beers on their Untappd list, so I do recommend that you go and check that out if you are interested. But yeah, do give that a go and just and see what you think. But for me, very, very interesting. But if you want to learn more about these guys, you can check out the brewery website. You can follow them on Facebook and Instagram to keep up to date with all the latest goings on, and you can of course check out the Rate Beer, Untappd and Beer Advocate pages to learn more about all those different beers. So yeah, let's get on and actually have a taste of this one then. So as you can see, the artwork on this one, I think this is a bit simpler. Going from the website, this is definitely a little bit simpler than some of the artwork you'll find on the other beers, because this is a special production. I'll need to see about trying some of their core range beers in the next Davor box, but you can see plain black bottle cap on this one, really nicely presented, and you can see there is the Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah symbol, the dragon. It reminds me of Charizard from Pokemon, which I used to watch when I was very young. I know there's a lot of people that are still really, really into Pokemon, but yeah, as I say, this one is called the IPA I said it right at the start of the video. IPA Smrekovimi Vršički, basically the IPA with spruce tips, if you want to translate the name into English. So yeah, 5.6% ABV this one, 330ml bottle. Let's get it out and into the glass and see how we get on. I'm very, very curious to see how this beer turns out. Ooh, and as you can see, a nice little bit of carbonation as we open it up. I do like these Belgian stubby bottles actually, and I'm very curious to see what this has in store for us. It actually looks a little bit pink in its colour when we pour it, but you can see there is going to be a good head on this one. I think this will be very interesting. That head almost has a little tiny touch of a pinkish tinge to it. But yeah, the last beer I think that I had that had spruce tips in it was actually the Vršički from Pojala in Estonia actually, and they were using it as a way to kind of give their non-alcoholic beer a little bit more kind of bitterness and things, which was quite interesting. So yeah, but look at this thing. This is a very, very murky IPA, this one. I'm not sure if it is intended as a New Englander, exactly what kind of IPA it is, but 5.6%, it is a little bit lower. You can see there is, I was right to say there's a red tinge of this one. I'm not sure if you guys can see that really on the head, but there are just little spatterings of particles in there. But you can see the head has come out pretty, kind of bubbly in this one. And there's a solid 2 fingers of head there, but you can see that starting to die away already. The surface tension will take care of that. But yeah, in terms of colour, if we shine the light through this one, it's a very murky, dark amber colour, this beer. I'm not sure how well that is actually showing up here on the camera, but yeah, if you put the light through this beer, very dark, kind of murky, ambery orange. So I like how that goes together. So yeah, if I put my fingers behind the glass, there is a good degree of haze to this one, which I do like. There's 1 or 2 big bubbles sticking towards the side of the glass, and a few little ones going up towards the bottom of that head there. But overall, it does look pretty nice actually. It looks kind of interesting. So yeah, let's take a closer look at that aroma and see how we get on. Hopefully, we can get some of the aroma without having to eat the head, But yeah, I have to say it smells pretty nice. You do get a really interesting one out of this. The first thing that comes to my mind is that it smells like it's quite an orangey leaning IPA. Could there be a little bit of Amarillo or something in here? and of course the Slovenians do have their own hop varieties as well. Is it the Styrian Dragon that's got a little bit of the orangey character to it? Could well be that, or it could be, you know, it could just be Amarillo, Mandarin, Bavaria, a bit of mosaic, something like that. Really not sure. Nearly took some of that up the nose there. But yeah, the aroma of this beer, I have to say, what I can get so far is very, very pleasant. So straight away with this one, I get quite a lot of orange out of this, like a lovely juicy kind of oily orange character. There is a wee bit of a kind of lemony zesty sort of thing to it as well, but for me the first thing that comes to mind is the orangey notes. But what you're getting behind that is the green side of the hops, and you're also getting that lovely kind of fresh spruce tip aroma. Spruce tips are quite interesting for me, because in the aroma they come across as quite green, I think. Like they come across as almost like a slightly more kind of, just a very slightly almost piney resinous grass type quality. They come out on the same kind of level as that, which I always find really very interesting. But yeah, when we sugar the beer up a little bit, I do start to get more of a kind of bready note out of the beer. There is it's like a kind of white bready, bread crusty sort of thing. There's a nice little bit of a sweet, I do get a bit of sweet caramel out of this one. There is an element of biscuitiness to the beer as well. But yeah, it's bready and biscuity, the malt base in this one. I think that kind of sums it up pretty well. But there's a nice bit of bright grassiness out of the beer. Yeah, nice bit of a straight up grassiness. You do get a wee bit of a kind of floral aromaticity and piney resin out of it, but as you'd expect when there's spruce tips in this, when they're added as an adjunct, they are kind of going to dominate the green side of the aroma in this beer. There's maybe a little touch of earthiness in there just behind it, so I wouldn't be surprised if there is one of the more noble type Slovenian hops in this one, like the Dana or the Styrian Golding. Or something like that. Salaya would be the other one that it could potentially be. There's a lot, as I say, there's a lot of good Slovenian hops. Styrian Wolf, Styrian Golding, something like this. You know, there's a lot of really interesting stuff. The Ruinik Hop Farm, which is of course home to Green Gold Brewing as well, right in the centre of the country. That's somewhere that I definitely want to go and visit when I make it to Slovenia. It'd be cool to go and check out the Savinja Valley and the Ruinik Hop Farm and things like that. So, yeah. Lovely smelling beer though, I have to say. It comes across as very fresh, very bright and green, but also just a little touch oily and orangey and caramelly and stuff. So I really like how the aroma of this beer goes together. I like this one. So yeah, take a little bit of time and just enjoy that aroma before you get stuck in. The head, as we can see, is starting to kind of go down a little bit, and you start to get more and more of the aroma out of this one, but it does come across as a little bit more. It reminds me actually of some of the more old school kind of German brewed IPAs that I'd had, and some of the older beers that I'd had from Slovenia, such as the kind of Reservoir Dogs and the Pellets on things. It does remind me of that in terms of its aroma. But yeah, take a bit of time to enjoy the aroma of this one. I can smell that this beer is going to be a little bit more bitter, but we'll have a taste of this one now. So this one is the IPA Smrekovimi Vršički, basically the IPA with spruce tips, coming in at 5.6% ABV from Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah in Ljubljana, the capital city of Slovenia. Once again, massive thank you to Davor for making this review possible. Slanje, skol, na zdravje. Cheers. Ooh, that is quite a nice beer actually. One thing that you're going to notice about this one, and it's kind of obvious from the head, it is just a little touch over carbonated, and it may well just be because of how long it's been sitting. It might well just be because of how long it's been sitting in the just how long it's been sitting in the bottle, if you like. But yeah, it could well just be that, but I will say the beer itself is pretty nice, so we'll do our best and we'll overlook the slight overcarbonation. You sometimes get this in beers from smaller breweries, but yeah, it's going to happen with bottle condition stuff. Maybe you can hear the dogs up the stairs going a bit crazy. They always hear when someone comes home, so someone just must be on their way into the house. But yeah, the aroma and the flavour of this beer, I think, is really quite nice. But I will say with this one, it does have it's got a real sort of kind of dank, bitter, kind of resinous type quality to it, and I really like how that goes together in this one. Yeah. I like this beer. What I will say about it is that it's really quite quirky. So just be aware of that. This isn't like a standard kind of IPA. It smells as if it's going to be, but I think the whole vibe of this beer is it strikes me as quite a yeasty IPA, and it's interesting that, because I said the same about the Omnivar Tutti Frutti that I reviewed for you a couple of videos back. So maybe this is a bit of a trend, maybe the Slovenians, and I've always found that they like their beers, they do like their beers to have a bit of a bready base to them, and they also like the fruity side of the beer to be quite oily, and I noticed that in this beer, and I noticed the same in the Tutti Frutti from Omnivar. So I always like this. As I say, I do like it when you have beers from countries and you start to notice wee trends with them. That is quite apparent with this beer as well in my mind. So yeah, where to begin with this one then? Straight away with this beer, you can feel that nice white bready base, that blankets the middle of your palate. And it's quite a thick but also very smooth white bread. I think the yeast is kind of contributing a little bit to the the kind of mouthfeel of this beer. And that's always the case. That is always the case. But yeah, you can feel that nice smooth white bready base there. I think as you go further into the aftertaste, it does sweeten up a little bit. You start to get a few kind of grainy elements out of it, and there is a nice little bit of kind of bread crusty thing to this beer as well. If you go towards the back third of your palate, you can feel that gradually the kind of malty yeasty base of the beer, it does get just a little touch more kind of grainy and things as you go further into the aftertaste. So as you progress further into the flavour. So I really like how that goes together. So yeah, this one for me is really it's really nice. I like this. I do like a slightly more yeasty IPA, because you can really feel the esters from the yeast just kind of smoothing out the whole thing of this. You can feel that sort of bready yeasty character on the back third of your palate is a little bit thicker. What I will say about this one is that it's quite a smooth and clean kind of white bready note that you get out of the yeast in this one. It's not like banana and clovey and things like you'll get from a number of Belgian beers and stuff. It's not like that at all in my mind. But yeah, as you move further forward into the middle third of your palate, you can feel it just kind of, the thickness of the beer just drops a little bit, and you can feel it's got that nice kind of clean and smooth white bready base. But on top of that, in the very centre of your palate, you do get a nice little bit of a sweet caramel coming out of it. There's maybe a little touch of a kind of butter candy to the beer, but not a lot. But as you move further out towards the edge of the tongue, it does have a wee bit of a kind of McVitie's digestive-y sort of thing. But the smoothness of the yeastiness in this beer, I think, is quite an attractive thing. It does almost have an element of that Belgian IPA type thing going on with it, and I think that smoothness that it has is a good contrast to the sort of kind of floral aromatic-y resinous side of thing that's going on the hoppy side of the beer, along with these other adjuncts that are in there with the spruce tips. So yeah, this is an interesting beer. It's very quirky, this one, and we do like quirky beers on the channel because it makes us think a little bit. But yeah, I think that covers the malty kind of yeasty side of things out of this one. So yeah, I like this. I wish I could translate it here. I think it's it does say something about kvass on the side here, and the thing that I always think with kvass is that low alcohol fermented bread yeasty type thing. So I do wonder if maybe they've used a little bit of kvass yeast in this. That would be the other thing that would make sense, to be honest with you. So yeah, interesting stuff. But yeah, I certainly like the centre of the palate on this one. That's the thing that's really quirky about this beer. In the back corner of the palate then, in the back corners, you do get a little bit of that earthiness that you'd expect from the hops. As you move further forward, you can feel that the beer does get a little bit more, you can feel it does get a little bit more kind of grassy and floral, but then I think the spruce tips, like as you reach the front corners of the palate, you can feel the nice kind of floral aromaticity of the beer, but then the spruce tips, I think almost kind of, the spruce tips kind of, how do you say, they sort of almost smoothen it out a little bit and just give it a little bit more brightness. I think that's really what the spruce tips are doing in this one, plus they also give the overall middle of your palate, it just makes the middle of your palate feel a little bit darker almost, which is quite interesting. But yeah, it's good. I like this. yeah, it does. I mean, the spruce tips don't really give you, they sort of give you a real depth to the kind of floral aromatic-y side of the beer, and I like that about it. But I find they are kind of sitting there in the on the side of the palate, and they almost kind of just go. They mix in a little bit with the kind of bready, yeasty side of the beer in the centre of the palate too. But as you go round the front curve of the palate, you've got a nice little bit of a lighter grassiness there, and I think they are almost contributing a wee bit to the slight zestiness that you get from that side of the beer as well. But on the front third of your palate, that's where you get that nice oily bubble where those juicy fruity esters just roll their way out of the beer. And for me, again, I think this one has quite a big oily orange character to it. I would not be surprised if Amarillo has been used in this one. It could also be another Slovenian variety of hop, but I think there might be a bit of Cascade or something in this beer as well. I think there could be a little bit of that, because when you go towards the back of that front third of your palate, you do get a bit of that slightly darker, more grapefruity note, which I like. Yeah, there is a wee bit of that more kind of darker grapefruity note there, but I think very quickly as you move further forward in this one, it really develops more of a kind of oily orangey sort of thing. So I wouldn't be surprised if this was like a bit of Cascade and a kind of a single hop. And other than that, sorry, not a single hop, then the rest of it would be Amarillo. I wouldn't be surprised about that. Yeah, it could be a bit of Chinook and Amarillo at the same time as well. I'd be curious to know what the hop bill of this beer is, but to me it does strike me as being quite orangey. This would actually be like a really nice winter IPA. I would think this could be a really nice winter one for them to do, because it's just got that kind of spiciness and almost the yeastiness and slight thickness that you would want from a winter IPA. That would be my recommendation to these guys. You make this a winter release, make it an annual winter release beer. So yeah, make it the winter. It could be the winter IPA. They could rename this the winter IPA. Easier for me to pronounce as well. But yeah, this is a really interesting one. I like this beer. And the other thing you're going to notice about this beer, you do get a few woody undertones come out of it later on, and you do get a nice kind of malty sweetness as well. So this is a really, really interesting beer, a very, very quirky one, and I've certainly enjoyed reviewing it for you here on the channel too. So I hope that you guys have enjoyed my take on this one. I really like quirky beers like this, and I can see why Davor would want to send this one to me. In terms of the mouthfeel then, what are we going to say about this one? I find this beer, I think this is kind of top end of mid-bodied. The carbonation is quite smooth, but at the same time it does have a little bit of slickness to it. There's a wee bit of an oiliness to the sweet side of the beer as well, but I would describe this beer overall as quite slick. In terms of the kind of hoppy bitterness and stuff of this beer, this one I want to say this is a bit stronger. This has got to be 60 or 70 IBUs. I think it actually said in the bottle it says 60. Yeah, I probably would have guessed. I was leaning towards 70, to be honest, from the taste. I would have said that it was a little bit stronger than it is. My IPA, my IBU senses, I think I need to work on a little bit, because I would have said that this one was like a 70-ish IBU beer, and I probably could have been convinced to go even higher than that. But yeah, it's got a really nice kind of bitterness and sort of almost dank kind of quality to it, this beer. But I like the depth. I really like the depth of the kind of bitterness and stuff that you get out of this beer, both from the spruce tips and from the kind of piney resins too. I really like that about this beer. So yeah, quite a high bitterness IPA, this one, compared to what you'll normally find these days. But the malt base, like I say, the yeast and the malt in this one have a really nice relationship. The yeast kind of thickens out the beer a bit, and you've just got a little bit of sweetness from the malty part of the beer too. And the spruce tips really give that kind of winter, almost slightly spicy feel to the beer, and the fruits are really nice and oily in this beer as well. So yeah, this one, it does have a lot of West Coast type character to it, but at the same time the kind of middle of the palate has a bit of that kind of thickness you might expect of a Belgian IPA, but it lacks the kind of banana and clovey sort of thing that you'd normally get from a Belgian IPA. I think it's just fair to conclude that this is a really quirky IPA, but I would highly recommend to this brewery that they They released this as a winter IPA. This would be a really, really nice winter IPA, I think. I don't know what the winters are actually like in Slovenia. It's probably a little bit less cold than it is up here in Sweden. But yeah, I think this would be a lovely winter beer. So I would recommend that they do that, especially with the spruce tips. That's quite seasonal, actually. So yeah, guys, if you're watching from Loo-Blah-Nah, release this as a winter IPA. I think you're on to a winner with that, actually. So yeah, let's leave it at that for this one. This was a really, really nice beer. So yeah, to give it its full name once again, this is the IPA Smrekovimi Vršički. Basically the IPA with spruce tips, coming in at 5.6% ABV from Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah in Ljubljana, in the capital city of Slovenia. I really enjoyed reviewing this one. It's got a hell of a lot of flavour to it as well for a 5.6%er. That's something that we didn't say, and yeah, I look forward to trying a few more beers from these guys in the future. But in the meantime, thank you again to Davor for making this review possible, and we'll leave it at that for this one. So yeah, once again, thank you for watching my beer reviews. Until the next time, please like, subscribe, share, all the usual YouTube stuff. Let me know your own thoughts on this beer in the comments section below. Let me know what your favourite beers are from Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah as well. We will return to these guys at some point soon, and you will see more Slovenian reviews over the next little while as well, with lots of new breweries, because there were lots of new breweries that I hadn't discovered yet in this latest edition of the Davor box. And again, huge thank you to Davor for making these reviews possible. Thank you again for watching. Check out my social media, check out Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah, and I will catch you guys very soon. This was the IPA Smrekovimi Vršički, the IPA with spruce tips from Pivovarna Loo-Blah-Nah in Ljubljana, capital city of Slovenia. Slanje, skol, na zdravje. Check out this beer.